Good morning, guys. Welcome to my replay viewers. Thank you guys so much for jumping in, checking out my broadcast. Sorry I missed you live, but so glad you guys took some time to check it out. What is up to my live crew this morning? Great to see y'all this morning. So glad to have you here. I appreciate y'all coming in to hang out with me on this Friday morning, and happy Valentine's Day to you, Heather. Happy Valentine's Day to all of y'all. Good morning, Glinda. Thanks for coming in. Tammy, great morning to you. Kat, great morning to you. Appreciate y'all coming in. Adam and Tracy, I see you over on Periscope, YouTube, and Twitter. I see you guys active on Twitter as well. Sherry, great morning to you. Sheila, great morning to you. Adam, good morning to you. Brian, what's going on? Appreciate all of you guys. You're amazing. That's gonna be a fun broadcast for you this morning, guys. I'm sorry, I was really trying hard to get Courtney on my broadcast with me this morning, but we could not make our schedules align. She had some priorities that she had to accomplish today, and so I couldn't get her on the broadcast this morning. We're gonna talk about love today. It's Love Day. It's Valentine's Day. I'm gonna talk with you through something that Courtney and I do. We've learned this several years back. We've been doing it for a while. We've kind of made it our own. But we're gonna talk about 8 very powerful questions that you can ask your spouse on a daily basis to really enhance your communication. This is something that you can do every day. You can do it every few days. You can do it every time you go out on a date. Courtney and I try to do this. Sometimes we don't do it every day, but we try to do it multiple times a week because it's just really a powerful process. You can also do this with your kids. So excited to share this with you today. It's just going to be a good way to help you enhance your communication. If you're struggling to get your spouse to just tell you stuff and talk to you about stuff on a daily basis, this is a great formal way to do it. But it's also very safe, and it's just very effective. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to speak your spouse's language and get them speaking yours. All right, so all you guys that know me, you know who I am, you know how I roll. I'd love to have you hit that share button, get anybody in here that you think may want to hang out with us and take part in this conversation this morning. Right, tag people in the chat stream if you got anybody that you think would want to join in with us on this conversation this morning. All right, and then if anybody's brand new, if you've never seen me before, if you have no idea who I am, first of all, welcome. I would love to greet you and say hello. If you want to give me a hashtag first time in the chat stream, whether you're live or whether you're on the replay, I would love to know it's your first time. I would love to say hello, and my crew would love to make you feel welcome. So let me know if it is the first time that you ever joined in with us. And then lastly, guys, I love my replay viewers. I appreciate every single one of you guys that is checking this out on the replay. Those guys that are watching this replay, I want you to know that you can comment and interact with this broadcast. I'd love for you to give me a hashtag replay. I do see those comments, and I do respond to those as well, so I would love to know that you were here. All right, good morning, Nigel. Thanks for coming in. Kelly, great morning to you. Jacqueline, great morning to you. Kat, what's going on, girl? Victoria, good morning. Bonnie, good morning. Appreciate all of you. Rosalind, I see you as well. We're gonna roll, guys, because you know I do not waste my time, and I choose not to waste yours, so let's jam. All right, y'all, that is who I am. That is what I do. Justin Kaplan Pro is my name. JustinKaplanPro.com is my website. I'm a startup business mentor and a branding strategist that specializes in helping startup entrepreneurs turn your passion, turn your gifting, turn your idea into a profitable and sustainable brand that rises up in this challenging digital marketplace to draw in the 21st century consumers that want and need what you have to offer. Guys, I broadcast live every single weekday morning from Tuesday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, hooking you guys up with business building tips, hacks, and principles, anything I can give you to help you grow your business, expand your ministry, bring your vision to life, and grow that brand of yours online in this digital marketplace. All right, but I'm a man of God first and foremost in my life. God directs my world, and he directs my business. Everything I do is for him and from him. Amen. So on Friday mornings, usually and specifically Friday mornings, I like to set aside my business and my marketing content, Sherry, and I like to just share something that's on my heart to share with you from the word of the Lord. So if you like to join me on Friday morning specifically, I just like to talk about the Lord around here. We get into the word and we just learn and grow together. But this particular Friday, because it's Valentine's Day, I thought it'd be just good to talk about love. You want to talk about love today? Y'all in love this morning? I am. I love my wife. I think Courtney's actually in here this morning. She's driving, so she can't comment, but Courtney's listening to us this morning. But we're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about how to get your spouse to love you and love you more than maybe what they're already loving you, and get yourself talking to each other. Because I think communication is the single greatest opportunity that you have to create tremendous amount of intimacy in your relationship. And I think communication also is the single greatest challenge that most couples struggle with if they're struggling in their marriage because they're not talking or talking effectively. Y'all agree with that? Good morning, Camille. I see you. Good morning, Maggie. Keith, thanks for coming in, guys. So let's talk about communication this morning. And as always, I like to share with you a quote of the day that kind of aligns with the conversation that I'm having. And I actually had two quotes today that I found, and I really loved them both. So I'm going to give them to you both because I couldn't decide which one I like better. So the first one I'm going to give you is by a woman named Cherie Carter Scott. It says, without good communication, a relationship is merely a hollow vessel carrying you along on a frustrating journey fraught with perils of confusion, projection, and misunderstanding. That about sums it up, doesn't it? Without good communication, a relationship is merely a hollow vessel carrying you along on a frustrating journey fraught with perils of confusion, projection, and misunderstanding. That's a powerful quote. The other one I'm going to give you is by a woman named Shannon Adler. It says, the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't being said. The art of reading between the lines is a lifelong quest of the wise. I'm speaking to those men right there because you women are tricky. Y'all agree with that? You females out there? Y'all tricky to talk to. Sometimes we got to figure out what's going on behind the words that are saying and not being said. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't being said. The art of reading between the lines is a lifelong quest of the wise. All right, two great quotes, right? So let's talk about communication. So I'm going to give you 8, right? Both quotes by women, right? I'm going to give you 8 questions, and let me just set this up for you a little bit. So my wife and I learned this. I'm going to think it's probably been maybe 4 years ago, ish. I learned this from my parents. My parents learned it from a marriage seminar that they went to. Top morning to you as well, Sherry. Good morning to you, okay? And good morning to you, Heather. I see you. And Marlene, I see you as well. So my parents were a part of this marriage conference called... now I can't just completely escape my mind. It really doesn't matter. But they learned this process called Empty Your Jug. Have anybody ever heard of Empty Your Jug before? Give me a yes in the chat room if you've ever heard of this before. It's called Empty Your Jug. And Empty Your Jug is it's a formal series of questions. And it actually comes with a little card and everything. And it's good morning, Jamie. I see you. Great morning to you. It comes with this card, and it's basically this just series. And if I recall, it was 5 questions, and it was very simple questions. And basically, what this Empty Your Jug process was is it's a process to sit down with your spouse, and you ask them their 5 questions. And then they respond to each of the 5 questions. And then on the flip side of it, they ask you the same 5 questions. And you answer those questions. And it's just a good way to facilitate dialogue in a relationship where dialogue is hard to facilitate. Because a lot of people, I think, it's just very easy just to get in a rhythm of just talking about, what are we doing with the kids today? You know, what do we got to get done today? What's for dinner? You know, what are we doing this weekend? And it's just, you kind of can become business partners in just operating a household and operating your life, and sometimes it's tricky to get stuff out that's really going on between your ears. You can just miss it. So these questions kind of challenge you to answer those questions. So as Courtney and I were learning this, we've refined our questions over the year in a way that really helps us get good information out, and it's a little bit warmer because from my perspective, I think the original Empty Your Jug questions were just a little cold. And so we warmed them up and made them a little more personal, and then we added a couple too that we found to be really, really beneficial. So this is how you do this. Basically, you take time with your spouse. This can be on a date. Courtney and I will often do this. Sometimes if we're in the car, if we're driving for 30 minutes and we got some time in the car, we'll sit and we'll do an Empty Your Jug. A lot of these questions too. Sometimes we don't have. Some days we don't necessarily have a formal sit down time to do this, but we'll be in the middle of a day, and I'll just, we'll have 5 minutes to spare, and I'll just, out of the blue, I'll just ask her a couple questions, and they'll be from these questions. So we've gotten very, very good at just kind of knowing these questions and asking them to each other all the time, just to make sure that we're communicating with each other. So let me just go through these things. The first question is, what bothers you? And as you learn to do this, you got to really set this up in a safe manner. So what bothers you doesn't mean what bothers you about me. It just means what bothers you, and it could be what bothers you. I think the safer you get with your spouse, the more real these answers will get. But like Courtney, we were doing this in the car just, I don't remember what, a couple days ago, and we were driving, and she's like, all right, so what bothers you? I'm like, one thing that bothers me is when people ride up on my tail when I'm going down the highway and I'm going a pretty solid speed, and they get right behind you with their lights. That irritates me. Right? What bothers you could be, you can bring up, I could bring up, I remember one particular time I brought up a situation that happened with a particular family member, and there's one particular family member that does this thing all the time, and I know there's a hidden agenda behind it. You can feel it all the time. And so Courtney asked me one time, she's like, what bothers you? I'm like, what really bothers me is when so-and-so does this every single time. And I know that there's this agenda behind it. I can feel it like a cloud in the air. And it just really bugs me. And I had never told Courtney that before. But just because of the particular situation, the way I was feeling at the time, she asked me, and I brought it up, and we were able to have some really, really healthy conversation about that. So what bothers you is just, it could be what makes you mad, what makes you sad, could be something that just is irritating, could be, what, it really drives me crazy when I get up into the grocery line and I'm in a hurry, and the cashier hates her job and moves like a fossil. That drives me crazy. You know what else drives me crazy? If you're asking me what bothers me, nothing that bothers me is when people project their unhappiness on a life that they chose. I remember 2 years ago, I was in Destin. I was on my family vacation, and I took my son, and we had to go get some stuff for breakfast. We decided we were going to make pancakes or something, so we go to the grocery store. We weren't going to the grocery store, but it was the day we were going to go to the beach. So we're dressed in all of our beach gear. I'm like, let's go to the store and let's get our stuff. And then we'll head off to the beach. So we go to the grocery store with all of our stuff on. We show up in line, and as we get through, I'm in a good mood. We're on vacation, and this guy guy's maybe in his 40s. He's serving us, and I come up and say, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" He's like, "I'm all right." No, he said. I said, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" He's like, "Not as good as you, obviously." I'm like, "Why is that?" And because that irritates me when people project their unhappiness. He's like, not as good as you, obviously. He's like, well, sir, I'm stuck here for 8 hours a day, cashiering people like you, who you're obviously going to go spend the day at the beach. So obviously I'm not doing as good as you. I said, I got a challenge for you. I said, you know what's interesting? As I said, I get to spend 1 week in this place to enjoy the surroundings in this area. You live here. You can enjoy this town as much as you want. I said, so it's all about perspective. I challenge you to change yours this morning. And he's all like, he kind of looked at me, and he was a big guy. He was taller than me. And I'm like, this guy's going to knock me out, or he's going to start crying. I'm not sure what he's going to do. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, thank you for that. I needed that today. And I'm like, you go. Have a great day. And I laughed. I'm like, whew. Ethan's like, Dad. And I'm like, what? He needed it. He's projecting his irritation of his life that he chose. He chose to work here. I only get 1 week here. Don't be projecting your negativity on my vacation. I'm enjoying my vacation. You live here, pal. Every day you get out of work, you can go to the same beach. You just choose not to because you don't like this place because you live here. Right? Anyways, so what bothers you? It's a great question. Courtney says, also make it a safe place so your partner can tell you what you're doing that bothers them. Absolutely, and that's tricky. And it's I think as you good morning, Mike, as you initially start this, you got to kind of learn what's okay to say and stuff, because honestly, some relationships are volatile. Like some of y'all, some of you guys, you got to learn how to calm down and let your spouse speak. Okay. Courtney and I know, both of us, like Courtney told me something the other day. I asked her, it was the same day. I asked her what bothers her, and she's told me something. It was just no big deal. And then we got going down the conversation. And then she's like, I have another thing that bothers me. And so, okay, she told me something that I had no idea that I do. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's so good. That's great feedback. She's like, thanks. And it was something that I do that I didn't realize I do that I really bothers her. And so she shared that with me. So what bothers you is powerful. Number 2 is what makes you happy. What makes you happy? What makes you excited? What makes you feel good? What makes you, and what makes you happy can be simple, but it can also be something like, it can be anything. It could be you telling your spouse that it really makes you really love it when they give you a hug and kiss before they leave for work in the morning. Could be I really love it when you give me your attention and you ask me questions about my day when I come home from work. Could be I love it when you take an active interest in the things that I'm working on. I love it that you give me the freedom to go and explore my hobbies. I love that you let me hang out with my friends. I love it that you support my parents, my mom. I love it when you vacuum the house. I love it when my wife vacuums the house. That makes me happy. It irritates me seeing little puffs of hair from cats or whatever laying around. So when my wife vacuums the house, it makes me feel loved. I like that's an acts of service types of thing. Good morning, Celia. Celia, what makes waking up a sunrise in the morning makes me happy. Experiencing breakthroughs with my clients makes me happy. Being blessed to wake up and give my wife a kiss and saying I'm going to work, babe, and then I go down 10 stairs and that's it. I'm at work. Right? So what makes you happy? That's a great question. That's question number 2. So we've talked 2 questions so far. There's 8 questions, and just a reminder as you do this is something that you ask your spouse each of these questions, and they do all of the talking. You can have dialogue about their responses, but they answer all the questions first, and then they turn and they ask you the same questions. All right. So question number 1 is what bothers you. Question number 2 is what makes you happy. Question number 3 is what are you curious about? What are you curious about? This is a fun one, actually. Courtney and I usually have fun with this. Usually the answers to these are pretty funny. Usually it's, I really wonder what the heck that person is thinking. Or, what I don't understand? I don't understand why that person posts that stuff on Facebook and then is surprised by the responses that they get. You never know what makes you what are you curious about. You could be I'm really curious about how that person did that thing, really curious about how airplanes fly. Who knows, could be anything. It doesn't have to be anything deep, it could just be something to talk about. So what are you curious about is a good one. Number 4, I love this one. This is probably one of my favorites that Courtney and I do. And we try to, this is one of the ones that we try to ask ourselves at least every day, usually. Because it's an easy one that comes up. This is one we can just throw out, just if we only have a couple minutes. Is, do you have any new information? Do you have any new information? That's why I said, Celia, this is a fantastic thing to share with your kids. Absolutely. And we do this on my kids. Actually, as Courtney and I were talking about this in preparation for this broadcast, I'm like, what I'm going to do? And I haven't been doing it quite as frequently, but I'm going to start doing this on every one of my dad dates. So I do dad dates with my kids every single week. So I have 4 kids. And because I have 4 kids, it's hard to get one-on-one time with each one of them when they're all together. So every week I pick up one of my kids from school after school on Tuesday. Every Tuesday I take one of my kids out, take them out for dinner, and we do something together, and we just hang out together for the evening. So I just get one-on-one time. And I love the windshield time because I get so much good conversation with them in the car. And so I'm like, I'm going to start doing the empty your jug with the kids on a dad date. Just because it's just good. It's good structured conversation to make sure that we don't miss that time together by not having real conversation. So do you have any new information? It's just a great way to stop and pause and make sure that you're telling your spouse everything that is going on in your world. Because isn't it easy? Isn't it so easy to get so busy where all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't tell you about this. And oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you that this thing happened at work today, or I forgot to tell you this thing my mom called, or I forgot to tell you about this crazy thing that happened with my boss today, or this amazing thing that happened with one of my clients today, or whatever. So do you have any new information? It's just a great way to stop and pause and just think, is there anything that I've had happen in my life that I haven't told you about yet? And I would say probably almost always when Courtney and I do this, almost always we're able to come up with something. Sometimes I'll be like, actually, I can't think of anything that I haven't told you. And that happens occasionally. That's okay, if you can't think of anything. But there's almost always something. And we try to, and this is what I challenge you with too, is do you have any new information? Don't cop this out. Don't be like, no. Like, I try very hard to stay away from yes and no answers, because a marriage needs more than a yes or no answer. Y'all agree with that? Like yes or no is not good enough in a marriage. You got to give some substance behind it. So try to stay away from yes and no answers, even though a couple of these questions can be answered with a yes or no. If I'm gonna tell Courtney, no, I don't have any information, I'll be like, no. Usually what I'll say is, I really can't think of anything I haven't told you. I think the latest thing was when I told you yesterday about so and so. And so that's a good one, though. That we find that one is usually kind of brings us down to reality. Be like, you know what? I haven't told you this yet. Wow, let me tell you about this real quick. So, do you have any new information? Is number 4. Number 5 is, do you have anything that you need to ask forgiveness for? It's a powerful one, but it's a safe one. It should be a safe one. If you do this in this setting, if Courtney says to me, if I've got something that I know I've done wrong, or I've got something, maybe it's something that Courtney told me yesterday that bothers her, could be something that I know, we had if maybe earlier this week, I said something snotty, and I could tell it kind of shut her down, and then it got brushed under the rug. That didn't happen, but if that had happened, where I know maybe if we went to bed mad one night or something, if there's tension in something, if I've said something, if there's something that you've done wrong, if Courtney says to me, is there anything you need to ask forgiveness for? Again, that's one of those ones where a lot of times I can be like, I don't think so. What can sometimes happen, and we've done this before, and it depends on the relationship and how well you guys communicate together. But if Courtney asks me the question, do you have anything that you need to ask forgiveness for? If I can't think of any particular thing that I need to ask forgiveness for, I might turn that question to her and be like, is there anything that I've done recently that you think I should ask forgiveness for? And that's genuine. That's not being condescending. Is there anything that I've done recently that hurt your feelings? Yeah, actually, when you did that the other day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. Would you forgive me for that? Absolutely. Okay. And that's it. That's it. It's very easy. But without the opportunity to bring that up, that can sit and fester, And then the next time it happens, it can get worse and worse. So, do you have anything that you need to ask forgiveness for? Is a powerful one. Number 6 is, what are you dreaming about or hopeful for? What are you dreaming about or hopeful for? What is something you're excited about? What is something that you wish would happen? What is something that you're wishing for? What is something you're praying for, believing for, hoping for? It's a powerful one too, because I think a lot of times we get so busy. Thank you, Celia. I appreciate you. We get so busy that sometimes we don't share the greatest desires of our heart, right? And I think it may roll around up here all the time, but when's the last time you actually sat down with your spouse and be like, something I really want to see happen this year? Something I really want to experience. Something I really want to plan together. Something I really want to do together. You might be, maybe you're super hopeful for taking a mini vacation with just you and your spouse and no kids. But have you told your spouse that? Because if you've never told your spouse that, but that's something that I really just want to take. I would love, for my birthday this year, would love to take a little mini trip, just the two of us, and go somewhere we've never gone before. Maybe that's something you think about. And then, but you never talk to your spouse about that. But all of a sudden, if your spouse right? If Harry says to Sherry, you know what, Sherry, what are you hopeful for? And Sherry says, I want to take a mini vacation. Just the two of us. No kids. Go somewhere we've never gone. Drink wine. Stay up late. Sleep in. Do something fun. Do something adventurous. Whatever that looks like. I would love to do that. And then maybe Harry can be like, you know what, we should plan that. And be like, we should plan that. What would be a good time this year for us to do that? Why don't we do that during the summertime, right? Swoon. I got Sherry swooning, right? You know, maybe we do it during the summertime when the kids are at vacation, or we can drop them off at your mom's for the week or whatever. We could go do that. And then you plan it. You plan it right there. And usually what happens with Courtney and I is with each of us, when we bring up what are you dreaming about or hopeful for, a lot of the time we'll be like, we need to make that happen. There's nothing stopping us from making that happen. We need to make that happen. Right? If Amanda watches this, Amanda, you can drop your kids off at mom's, and Maggie, you can drop your kids off at Amanda's. I don't know if that'll work the same, right? But what do you dream about? What are you hopeful for? And have you shared that with your spouse? All right. Number 7. This is one of the ones we added because we felt it was really necessary. Is there anything you need from me? Is there anything you need from me? When's the last time you asked your spouse that? Is there anything you need from me? Is there anything you need from me around the house? Is there anything you need from me spiritually? Do you need me to? Is there anything you need from me with the kids? Is there anything you need from me sexually? Is there anything you need from me in regards to our family, your family? Is there anything you need from? If there anything you need me to do differently or better? Is there anything you need from me? Man, if you can ask that question in a safe environment and give your spouse to actually really sincerely think about that and tell you what they need from you, it'll change your world. It'll absolutely change your world. Yeah, I need for you when you tell me you're going to be home at a certain time to be home at that certain time, because when I plan dinner based upon when you said you're going to be home and you're constantly late, it really, really frustrates me. I need you to be more helpful for the kids when you come home. I need you to give me an hour every day where I feel like we can have some time together amidst all the craziness in our world. Whatever that is for you and your spouse. Is there anything that you need from me? Now, that's another one of those ones that's could be a yes or no answer. Don't stop at the yes or no answer. And you might say, you know what? I don't know. I can't. You can almost always come up with something. Always. But even if it's a no, if I'm like, Courtney, I can't think of anything right now that I need from you. But that rarely happens. There's almost always something. It doesn't have, and sometimes it doesn't have to be huge. Honestly, sometimes the smallest things are the biggest things. Amen? Like, I think some of the biggest challenges that people face in their marriages are not the big decisions, it's the little ones. It's the little stuff that doesn't get talked about. It's going back to this quote from Cherie says, without good communication, relationship is merely hollow vessel carrying you along on a frustrating journey fraught with pairs of confusion, projection, and misunderstanding. It's the little things that cause misunderstanding. It's the little things that you can feel you can feel your spouse projecting on you if they're in a mood. And if they're in a mood, it's probably because they're unhappy with something, or it's because they don't feel listened to, or they don't feel understood, or they don't feel like they're getting your attention, or whatever. This is Rock will be so excited when I ask him all these questions tonight. All right, but listen, if you can get your spouse. Oh, I love it. Travel safely, Michelle, and I'm so glad you're here. And hello to Mr. Fisher. If you can get your spouse really being committed to this thing, to being committed to this time, and I have one more question for you. If you really get your spouse to be committed to this process, and you can make a regular habit of doing this, it's so powerful. It'll absolutely change your marriage. You start talking about these things. These are the real things. These are the things that really need to be discussed, and it'll absolutely change everything if you can just start really talking about it intentionally on a frequent basis. All right. The last question, number 8, is what can I pray for you for? What can I pray for you for? Is there anything that you're worried about? You know, sometimes the prayer thing can come up with their answers to some of the previous questions. You know, could be praying for that the Lord orders our steps to make this thing that you're dreaming about and wishing about happen. It could be something about something that bothers you, and let's pray about that. Whatever. But what can I pray for you for? So that's the last question. What do I pray for you for? And then after they tell you what they would like prayer for, then you pray for them right there. Hold their hand, and then you pray for them right there. And then after you pray for them about whatever they want prayer for, then you flip the table, and now they ask you the questions, and they go through the same process. I'm going to see these comments. Hubby and I went to a love and respect marriage course last night. One of the questions for the woman to ask her man is there anything I do that makes you feel disrespected? Great question. The husband is to ask, is there anything I do that makes you feel unloved? Fantastic question. Love that. So if I say, is there anything, yeah. That'd be a great one to ask, actually, or to add. Is there if y'all are taking notes, write those down. So the woman to ask her man is there anything that I do that makes you feel disrespected? Because men need respect. Is there anything? Thank you for that, Heather. Disrespected. Those are good. And then the woman asks, is there anything I do to make, is there anything I do that makes you feel unloved? So good. Biblically great questions, aren't they? Fantastic questions. So that's your questions, y'all. So what bothers you? What makes you happy? What are you curious about? Do you have any new information? Do you have anything that you need to ask forgiveness for? What are you dreaming about or hopeful for? Is there anything you need from me? And then what can I pray for you for? How many of y'all are going to do this? You going to try this? It's powerfully impactful. Powerfully impactful. Let me put this summary up on the screen for you so you can get it. There it is, y'all. The 2 quotes that I gave you for today. Now I've got 10 questions. Technically 9 because one of them's for the man and one of them's for the woman. So 9 questions altogether. But so good. But I put that up on the screen so you can get that, y'all. If you're on a mobile device, you can turn your device sideways and that image will fill up the screen. You can snapshot that screen, put it in your camera roll, and you can use that as reference. The first several times we did this, we had to, and even every once in a while now when we do it, we got to pull up the list so we can remember what questions we have these questions saved in our phone. But it's super powerful, y'all. Hopefully that was good for you today. I'm going to leave you with that for today, guys. I appreciate you. Hopefully that was valuable. Challenge you to take these questions, and just like we did when we took these questions originally when we got them, we were like, I don't really like how that's worded and how that feels. So we revised them to word them the way we talk. And so these are our version. This is how we communicate, and these are the ones that we found to be the most helpful. So with each of you, challenge you just to, if there's anything that you would want to tweak or edit with these, edit them. You don't have to follow these exact questions. The trick and the mission is to ask the right questions with your spouse that is going to bring up all of the information that you really need and want to share with each other. Okay? I'm going to leave you with that for today, guys. I appreciate you. Happy Valentine's Day. I know 35 minutes of your time is so valuable, so I appreciate you spending your time with me this morning. If you got anybody in your clan or your crew that you think needs to see this or hear this, feel free to tag them in the chat or share it out to your groups or your pages. Get it to the people that need it this morning, and I hope all of you guys have a spectacular day. Yes, and thank you for reminding me of that, Sheila. This is spectacular to do with the kids. So with your kids, you want to revise some of these probably. The forgiveness one's powerful, new information, curious, happy, bothers you. I guess you could ask the kids, is there anything you need from me? But you want to just, you may need to soften the questions a little bit just to make sure that the kids don't feel you got to stay away from, I try very hard to not ask my kids questions that can give a yes or no answer. I want to ask them questions in a way that they have to give me some dialogue. So try it on your kids and see. It depends on the ages of your kids as well, what kind of answers you're going to get. But use that, guys. Have a beautiful day. Have a great weekend. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys. And I will see you. Oh, real quick reminder, I have a branding challenge starting tomorrow. Today's the last day to enroll with that. Yes, I do have open office today. So all you guys that are in my inner circle, I'll be jumping in open office in just a few minutes. So feel free to meet me there. And branding challenge starts tomorrow. If you want to get plugged into that, here's the image for that, JustinKaplanPro.com/elevate. I'm going to work with y'all for 7 days for free to help you elevate your brand. It's going to be crazy. Would love to get you plugged into it. And that's what I got for today, guys. Have a beautiful day. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And I will see you guys all around the web. All right. Take care. God bless. I'll see you guys later.